Committee on Oversight and Government Reform will come to order, and we'll continue with the second panel of the hearing today. I'd ask unanimous consent that Congressman Young of Iowa be allowed to participate and fully participate in today's hearing. Without objection, so ordered. We're glad that you can join us, as well as Mr. Courtney, Connecticut, who can also come join us. The second panel is probably the most important people that we can hear from, and we're pleased to welcome Mr. Ralph Martin, who is the Chief of Police at the Santa Maria, California Police Department. He has an important perspective for us, and Chief, we're pleased and honored that you would join with us here today. I'd also like to allow Mr. Courtney to help introduce Ms. Wendy Hartling.
Thank you, Chairman Chavez and Ranking Member Cummings. Again, we are honored today to have Ms. Wendy Hartling from Gales Ferry, Connecticut, join us here today. Gales Ferry is sort of the quintessential sort of small town America, and she was, again, the devoted mother of Chacey Chadwick, who has been mentioned many times this morning, lost her life almost a year ago in Norwich, Connecticut, to a brutal homicide, which roughly a couple weeks ago came to a legal conclusion with a conviction of Jean-Jacques. And all I would say, Mr. Chairman, is that Wendy Hartling was leading a very private life, and you know, again, with strong family connections in the community, that changed radically. She's been thrust into the public eye as someone who has, again, faithfully attended all the court proceedings and has spoken out about really what was, I think, just a horrendous flaw and blunder by the government in terms of really following through on what, as I said earlier, was just a totally unambiguous deportation case. She's joined here today by Attorney Chester Fairley from New London, Connecticut, who's participates in the Survivors of Homicide group in the state of Connecticut, and Krista Wydra, who was Casey's best friend, who is also from Gales Ferry, that's here. Again, I think all the members will be, again, deeply moved by Wendy's testimony here today, and again, it's an honor to have the opportunity to introduce her, and I yield back.
I thank the gentleman. So again, Ms. Wendy Hartling is the mother of Casey Chadwick, who was killed by an illegal immigrant on June 15th of 2015. And we are beyond sad for your loss. And you woke up one morning and your life changed. And I'm sure you never expected this. You certainly didn't ever ask for this, but we appreciate your bravery for stepping forward and sharing your candid thoughts and perspective. It's important that we all hear that, see it, and feel it, and so thank you for being here today. We also are pleased to have Mr. Scott Root, who is here with us today, but I'd like to have Congressman Young of Iowa help introduce him and give a little background and perspective. Congressman Young, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member Cummings, and the colleagues here that shared this room today for this hearing, which is very important, obviously. Thanks for allowing me to participate in today's hearing to introduce Scott Root, a fellow Iowan. He's from Council Bluffs, which is on the western end of the 3rd District, nestled up against the Missouri River. And our mantra there is just to work hard and treat others right. A lot of patriotism there, fear and love of the Lord. Thank you for being here today. Earlier this year, Scott lost his daughter, Sarah, a beautiful girl, to a drunk driver, a criminal who took advantage of this administration's immigration policies, jumped bail, and may never be brought to justice for his crime. Scott, thank you for being here today to share your story. And Marilyn, thank you for coming as well. As I'm sure Scott and my colleagues from Iowa can attest to, Iowans have a unique sense of community, as well do other members and the folks from their district and state, a unique sense of community. We're all in this together. When something happens to one of us or our neighbors, it really gives levity to the situation. It hits us hard. It puts an impact on us personally, because it's like it's happening to all of us. Though we cannot fathom his grief, Mr. Root, we are left with a deep sense of loss, and we want to see justice. What happened to Sarah was a tragedy and a horrible crime, and now the Root family and the community are left waiting to see if Ezwin Mejia will ever be found, will ever stand trial because of failures of the court and failures of the federal government to enforce our laws. I had the chance to question Director Saldana early this year, and she shared when ICE failed to follow through on a detainer, it kept Ezwin Mejia from facing justice. She also said ICE will be looking at this case to make sure this doesn't happen again. As the chairman knows, this is something we hear too often without seeing actual results. From ICE, not accurately reviewing the request of the local police to the Department of Health and Human Services, placing Ezwin Mejia as an unaccompanied minor with his brother, who is also here illegally, I am astounded. This administration not only continues to restrict the enforcement of our immigration laws, but they don't seem to understand them at all in the first place. Nothing can bring Sarah back, but we can honor her and preserve Sarah's memory with justice and making sure this never happens again. Scott, thank you for being here today. May God give you courage, wisdom, peace, and strength in your fight for Sarah and her memory and for justice. Thank you for being here today. Mr. Chairman, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Root, we appreciate your strength in being here today and offering your perspective, and look forward to hearing your testimony and grieve for your loss as well. So thank you. We're also pleased to have Mr. Chris Burbank. He's the Director of Law Enforcement Engagement at the Center for Policing Equity. He's also the former Chief of Police, I believe 9 years in the Salt Lake City. I've had the pleasure of interacting with him on a number of occasions, and Mr. Burbank, we're pleased to have you here and participating and giving a perspective as well. So thank you for being here. Pursuant to committee rules, all witnesses are to be sworn before they testify. So if you will please each rise and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may be seated. Let the record reflect that the witnesses all answered in the affirmative. We would appreciate your limiting your verbal comments to 5 minutes, but your entire written record will be entered into the record. Chief Martin, we will start with you. You're now recognized for 5 minutes. And please know in advance, you need to bring that microphone up close and just make sure it's on, and thank you. That'll help us all. Chief Martin.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, good afternoon. My name is Ralph Martin, and I am the police chief for the city of Santa Maria, California. Santa Maria is the largest city in Santa Barbara County and one of the largest cities on California's Central Coast. It has a population of over 100,000, is a few minutes from the coastline, and is surrounded by agriculture. We are about halfway between Los Angeles and San Francisco. I'm here today to share with you an event that occurred just 9 months ago. It's about the brutal and vicious attack of 64-year-old Santa Maria resident Marilyn Ferris. At the time of this attack, Ms. Ferris was gainfully employed at nearby Vandenberg Air Force Base, where she worked the night shift as a satellite tracker civilian contractor. She's been doing this since 1974. Prior to that, she spent 4 years in the United States Air Force. On the morning of July 24th, 2015, at approximately 9:45 in the morning, while Ms. Ferris was sleeping, 2 suspects broke into her home, sexually assaulted her, strangled her, and beat her about the head and face with a hammer. But despite the incredible beating, Marilyn would not give up. She fought back with all the strength she could muster, even while receiving repeated blows. The suspects left her for dead, but somehow with her eye socket shattered and her neck bone broken, she dialed 911. As the suspects made their escape, one of them, identified as Victor Martinez Ramirez, broke into another home on West Donovan Street, entering through a sliding door. There he encountered 3 young children and their mother. However, she managed to dial 911 and the suspect fled again. As officers were responding to Ms. Ferris's home, additional officers are now responding to West Donovan home. Suspect Martinez starts jumping backyard fences, but the patrol officers set up a solid perimeter around him. And within minutes, one of our canine officers finds Martinez hiding underneath a tarp on a patio of a nearby home on Cox Street. Now that's 3 blocks from Ms. Ferris's home and 1 block from the Donovan Street home. He was arrested for burglary, sexual assault, and attempted murder. During the fourth day of the investigation, detectives identified and arrested a second suspect, Jose Villagomez. He was subsequently charged with the same crimes. 8 days after Ms. Ferris was attacked, she died in her hospital bed, unable to recover from her brutal injuries. Victor Martinez is an illegal alien from Mexico. He had been arrested by the Santa Maria Police Department 6 times in the previous 15 months. He was released from the Santa Barbara County Jail 96 hours before he attacked Ms. Ferris. Villagomez is a U.S. citizen, although he spent much of his life in Mexico. He had had 1 previous arrest. Both are currently in custody awaiting trial. I believe that when the federal and the state government fails to do its job, it falls on the shoulders of local government, and we are not equipped to deal with these issues financially or with personnel. The arrest sheet on Martinez is a glaring example of federal and state failures. On one occasion in 2014, ICE filed a Form I-247 immigration detainer. However, the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department does not recognize the lawful hold based on the Miranda Olivares versus Clackamas County decision, which is a federal court ruling. 2 weeks before the attack, Martinez was cited as opposed to being arrested for possession of methamphetamine because recently California passed Prop 47, which I'll address in just a moment. On July 16, 2015, 8 days before assaulting Ms. Ferris, Martinez was arrested again for felony possession of a dirk or dagger, as well as possession of drug paraphernalia. He was additionally charged at that time with 2 additional misdemeanors because he had 2 outstanding warrants for $10,000 apiece. One for failure to appear in court, and the other was failure to appear in court, and the other one was a probation violation. He was released that day. 4 days later, he attacks Ms. Ferris. Now, the state of California passed Prop 47 in November of 14. It was a complete con job pulled on the people. It was titled Safe Schools and Safe Neighborhoods, but in reality, it was just nothing more than a title. What it did was, in the fine print, reduce felony drug possession, like possession of heroin, possession of cocaine, possession of methamphetamine, to a misdemeanor citable offense. So now thousands of arrestees are petitioning the courts to reduce their convictions, as did Martinez. And the reason I bring this up is that if the convictions are then reduced to misdemeanors, ICE will look at those later on and see the felonies are now misdemeanors. Now, the city of Santa Maria, as well as other cities throughout California, are seeing an increase in homeless persons that have been with high drug dependency. And many of these persons would have been removed from our streets, been required to appear in court, and referred to drug rehabilitation and treatment programs. But the numbers have substantially decreased because of Prop 47. So it's a combination of federal issues and state issues. You know, I can't help but think our U.S. Marine makes a wrong turn at the border, and he's locked up for months and months at a time. And yet we in the U.S. seem to be running a catch and release program for criminal aliens. Now, I've been in this business for 40 years, and when I hear of incidents, whether it's the Root case or others, and people say it's a tragedy or some kind of senseless tragedy, you know, I just shake my head and say no, because when we do not enforce our federal and our state laws, all we truly have is predictable consequences. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Hartling, you're now recognized.
Hi, my name is Wendy Hartling, and my life will never be the same after June 15th, 2015. I am here on behalf of my daughter Casey, who was stabbed to death over 15 times and stuffed into a closet by a criminal alien, Jean Jacques. He was found guilty of attempted murder in 1996 and served 16 years in Connecticut prison. He should have automatically deported by Immigration and Customs Enforcement when he was released from prison. Instead, he killed Casey on June 15, 2015, and was found guilty of her murder after a trial. My hope is that he never gets out of prison. According to laws passed by Congress, Jacques should have been deported. ICE had him in custody and detention 3 times. Tragically, ICE released him 3 times, and he killed Casey just a few months after his last release by ICE. From defensive wounds, we know that Casey fought courageously and that she suffered greatly before her death. If ICE and Homeland Security had done their job, Casey would not have died, and I would no longer be here as a part of a club of homicide survivors, which no parent ever wants to join. My attorney, Chester Fairley, has written an article on the failure of deportation of criminal aliens. I would like to submit a copy of the deportations process contributed to the, oh, wait a minute, no, I've got to go back. Mr. Fairley states, this miscarriage of deportation process contributed to the death of Casey Chadwick and caused grief and suffering to her parents and friends. I understand that the Inspector General of Homeland Security has undertaken a full investigation of the Jacques failed deportation case, and we are awaiting the report. My daughter was loved by so many, family and friends. Over 300 people came to her wake. Casey and I were very close. She called or texted me every day. I can no longer talk to my daughter, hold her, hug her, or simply just hang out with her or go out to eat, which was one of her favorite things to do. This breaks my heart of every second of every day. Her best friend, Krista, of 13 years plus, who came with me on this trip as support, is devastated, as is Casey's boyfriend. This is what I have lost. I can't watch her walk down the aisle on the arm of her father. She will never have the chance of becoming a mom, something she was thinking of before her death. She will never see her 2 nephews grow up or go to her siblings' weddings. She will never again be at our family functions and holidays. The tragedy of Casey's death is not an isolated case and is occurring frighteningly around the country. Something has to be done to fix this horrible problem. I would never want any family to have to go through this. The pain is always with me. My heart is broken. I go to Survivors of Homicide group, which is very helpful. An important thing that I learned there was that the pain will never go away. I have to learn to live with it. I am trying, but it is the hardest thing for me in my entire life. Still, I must find the courage and strength to advocate for Casey, who cannot speak for herself. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And of course, we'll include that letter into the record. And you did great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Root, you're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Chairman Chavez, Ranking Member Cummins, and respected members of House Committee and Oversight Government. My name is Scott Root, and I thank you for the opportunity to be the voice of my murdered daughter, Sarah Ray Ann Root, murdered on Sunday, January 31st at approximately 2 a.m. by a drunk driver and illegal immigrant, Edwin Mejia. Less than 24 hours, Sarah walked with a 4.0 grade point average at Bachelor's in Criminal Investigations from Bellevue University. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Officer Bose, Rizzo, Adam and Don Turnbull, and Swanson from the Omaha Police Department. We would also like to thank Congressman and staff Steve King, Robert Goodlay, also thank Senators Ernst, Fisher, Grassley, Sass, Sessions, and the doctors and nurses at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. As a 30-year member of the Steamfitters Local 464, it is ironic that I find myself thanking a Republican House and a Senate member who reached out to us within weeks of Sarah's death. My ex-wife were not contacted by any Democrats or ICE until April 22nd, after I learned I would testify, and 82 days after my daughter was murdered. They were told ICE had a victims unit and they would be reaching out. I am an Army veteran. I served with the 1st Cav. My father was a World War II medic and was a recipient of the Purple Heart, Silver Star, and the French Medal Croix de Guerre. I don't want to share this to talk about ourselves, rather to point out that the Root family has served their country when called upon. Now they're asking for your help in getting answers and justice. My mother and sister legally immigrated to the United States after World War II and become American citizens. In my opinion, the Obama administration with open borders policy has changed us. We no longer ask for immigrants to assimilate to our way of life. Rather, schools, governments are required to accommodate to their needs of their country. My mother and sister took pride in becoming Americans and learning the language and culture. By allowing illegal immigrants to take custody of illegal immigrants with no controls in place for a person like Edwin Mejia, the man who killed my daughter, were to break our laws. Sarah was a daughter, sister, granddaughter, cousin, niece, and a friend. She was bright, smart, loving, caring, respectful, and strong. Like her brother and mom, she stood up for her beliefs. My son Scott lost his best friend, confidant, when Sarah died. Her mother lost her best friend. daughter and fellow Kansas City's chief, I'd like to take this opportunity to walk my daughter down the aisle on her wedding day and spoil her grandchildren she wanted. She loved to fish, and this year she wanted to try deer hunting. In the early morning of January 31st, I received no call a parent should ever have to change. My family was summoned to the hospital at approximately 4 a.m. I thought we had to deal with a broken leg or a broken arm. I didn't dare think the worst. I was awaiting something that no father should have to go through. That was identify their child. Her spinal cord was snapped, her skull fractured in 2 places, her face was swollen and beyond recognition. We identified her by her tattoo on her rib cage, live, laugh, love, and a crucifix. The neurosurgeon said on a scale from 1 to 10 that her chance for recovery was 0. No parent should have to deal with that, especially when the situation could have been prevented if the laws had been followed and enforced. Sarah was an organ donor. Her mother and I kept her on life support 3 days to allow organ recipients and their doctors to prepare themselves for harvesting. Sarah, through her unselfish act, was able to save 6 individuals. She also helped 4 to 5 dozen more through donation of tissue and tendons, bones. Since the accident, I learned Edwin had been apprehended in Arizona at 16-year-old minor, yet our government allowed him to be turned over to his brother, another illegal immigrant. Due to pressure being applied to the mentioned congressman senators, Edwin is now on the ICE top 10 most wanted list. This is ironic. On the webpage it says unlawful, illegal. When apprehended in Arizona, he was released to another illegal. When the Omaha police approached ICE 5 times requesting a detainer, we were reached each time with unlawful, illegal. Edwin was released 4 days in jail, and his brother posted 10% of $50,000, which is $5,000. It costs more to bury my daughter than her family and friends have been given a death sentence and a denial of her love, companionship. My family understands that our questions have not been answered, but I would like to go on for record of the following. At a local level, my friends are collecting signatures against Jeffrey Marcuso to remove him from the bench. He failed to show up for minor traffic infractions and presented a flight risk. Our question at the federal level, who is accountable? Sarah Sedania, Jed Johnson, Barack Obama. Harry Truman used to say, the buck stops here. This is not only a case of administration. Marcuso recently sent bail for another illegal immigrant accused of vehicle homicide in Omaha, $2 million for the local. ICE set a detainer on him. Congressman Goodlay, Senator Grassley, and a joint letter to Jed Johnson demanding answers for our case. Senator Sass has demanded answers from Sarah Saldana. If they cannot get answers from a family from Iowa, held accountable. Has anyone been held accountable for the local level? It's been 2.5 months since the senators and congressmen have asked answers from ICE. When can we expect to get the answers? The Omaha Police Department did their jobs. How is it that illegal brother was able to bail him out and disappeared? Do I get a choice which laws to follow? If not, which does an unlawful or legal immigrant mean? Sarah's family and friends are punished. Would officials of ICE Edwin's crime in the criteria for level? Would someone please explain to me how a daughter had a spinal cord and a skull fractured in 2,000 places by a 6,000-pound pickup with 1,000 pounds of roofing equipment traveling at 70 to 80 miles per hour in an underage person, three times over the legal limit, drag racing from Honduras, not violent? Explain that to me. What information do we have on Edwin's family and friends? Who owned the vehicle that Edwin was driving that killed my daughter? I understand it's another illegal from Wichita, Kansas. He was driving the streets with Omaha with no driver's license, no registration, no insurance. He did not show up for obligations for minor traffic violations. It was assumed he would show up for motor vehicle homicide. On attention level, has a red pool notice been issued? Are those steps in place? Does he have a cellular card? What is being done in the country of Honduras? Edwin was apprehended in Arizona. Was a file created? If so, what information has been communicated? If the Obama administration position on this is not to enforce immigration law, what is the purpose of ICE and our tax dollars being wasted? The only incentive to capture him is $5,000 reward through the Omaha Crime Stoppers. What other tools and means are available to the national law enforcement and people in Honduras, Mexico, or the United States to turn Edwin to the authorities? In my closing, my family and friends will not stop until people at the local and federal level are held accountable to her killer and brought to justice. When Edwin is caught, he will face a 20-year prison sentence and 8 to 10 with good behavior. But my family is facing a sentence without her. Her sentence is unavoidable and would have occurred if the failed policies, the Obama administration, and the laws that allowed be ignored in an incompetent local judicial system. This was the last time I saw Sarah was January 31st. She graduated from Bellevue University. Now I carry a cross on my heart with a crucifix around my neck. I want to leave you with a personal story. When Sarah was young, she had a patch of hair on her back. I would tease her by calling her Monkey Girl. She hated it, but she knew it coming from a father's love. I love you forever, Monkey Girl. Thank you for this opportunity to share Sarah's story and my family's story. Scott Root.
Ms. Root, thank you. Thank you for your personal service to this country and for the strength to be able to offer that statement and be here today. And God bless you. Between yourself and Ms. Hartling, thank you for sharing your stories. We'll now recognize Chief Burbank for 5 minutes.
To begin, I would like to say to the Hartling family and the Root family that I am sincerely sorry for your loss. You deserve much better, the tireless effort of law enforcement and the love of your communities. Committee members, we are experiencing a modern transformation of our world and especially of our nation. Demographics, cultures, economies, and public expectation are evolving rapidly. Interconnection of the globe through technology and the migration of people is a dynamic driver of change. Modern immigration has introduced cultural, religious, and intellectual diversity, creating avenues for multicultural competitiveness. Robust scientific evidence indicates that immigrants contribute economically, improve the local tax base, stabilize economy, and drive down crime, whether they move lawfully or unlawfully into new communities. Some of the highest immigrant-populated cities have experienced the steepest declines in crime. Coincidentally, this dramatic change has also marked an increase in bias, inequity, vitriol, and fear. Immigrants are ever increasingly stereotyped and demonized inappropriately for their involvement in criminal activity. Research conducted over the past 30 years has consistently shown that immigrants are less likely to commit serious crimes or to be incarcerated. This holds true whether documented or undocumented and regardless of their country of origin. It is a fact, as undocumented immigration has increased, crime has decreased dramatically. There is no demonstrable correlation between immigrants and crime. Additionally, there is no documented relationship between enhanced immigration enforcement and reduced crime. Public policy must be driven by evidence and not anecdotes. We have demonstrated that enforcement, arrest, incarceration, and force are not the most effective tools to prevent crime. A case in point, as incarceration rates soared in the 90s, so did police officers, search warrants, and other enforcement activities. We were at war against drugs, against gangs, and yet violent crime increased. The lasting legacy of this period was not crime reduction, but rather historically high incarceration rates, zero-tolerance approaches, stop-and-frisk practices, and the over-incarceration of individuals of color for misdemeanor violations, harming our communities far more than helping. In fact, the mistrust of communities of color that we face today is a result of hard-on crime, indifferent enforcement tactics perpetrated on neighborhoods labeled high crime. People experience their lives within neighborhoods, rarely at a national, state, or even city level. This is especially evident in socioeconomically depressed communities. Effective and appropriate policy and practices must understand and address life issues, education, health, housing, safety, and transportation. Public safety as exercised through community policing is best accomplished at a local level, capable of a nimble, small government approach to addressing these life issues. Immigration enforcement has created a double standard wrought with constitutional concerns. Immigrants not only face potential criminal penalty, but excessive detention without due process and ultimately deportation. Immigration enforcement can only be accomplished through racial profiling. Immigrants have been stopped for pretext traffic violations, questioned about their status, detained for numerous days without probable cause, transferred to the custody of ICE, and deported without notification to their families. This most certainly does not represent equal treatment under the law. Recidivism rates hover around 67% for individuals incarcerated. Conversely, persons adjudicated within a restorative justice model, designed to be an alternative to incarceration, reoffend at a rate less than 40%. Education or knowledge about society, social norms, laws, and traffic codes gained through participation and inclusion is the way out of addiction, substance abuse, and misdemeanor crime. When communities or groups of people are afraid to participate, we systematically isolate them, creating a negative environment where success is difficult, if not impossible. Studies have shown that immigration enforcement is not viewed as a legitimate public safety tool and does not serve to enhance community well-being, but further divides communities and undermines the already difficult job law enforcement has of maintaining public trust. Throughout history, law enforcement has been an efficient tool of social oppression, directed to protect certain races against the symbolic threats of others. We are still working to repair the mistrust, resentment, and rage that many in our communities continue to feel. It is not surprising that law enforcement officials across the nation are troubled at the proposition of mandatory immigration enforcement practices that appear motivated by prejudice and are likely to result in an increased crime. The time has come to accomplish comprehensive immigration reform. We must bring millions of people residing in our neighborhoods, contributing to our economy, adding value to our lives, out of the shadows and into mainstream. Crime prevention is best accomplished when we are partners in the effort with all members of society. Just as we have been unable to incarcerate our way out of crime, we will never solve immigration issues through deportation. Thank you.
We got a lot to talk about, Mr. Burbank, because I think you are in totally the wrong planet. But we're going to get after that. There is a vote on the floor. And so our apologies for this panel. But the committee is going to recess. We have 3 votes. And then we will come back and resume the questioning portion of this. So committee will stand in recess and will reconvene no sooner than 1:30. Thank you.